everybody, welcome back. We are on the federal fair housing laws, which is kind of weird because we normally don't start off with a unit exam, but we didn't pass it the first time in the last video. So those who are following along in order, we are retaking the unit exam. And these are all the things we covered here. So if you need to go back and review anything, you need to look for fair housing laws. This will be called Federal Fair Housing Laws Continued. And we are going to try and do this by sections instead of lessons because the lessons are just too small and it's taken too long to get through this. So hopefully we got 12 questions and we can pass this time. If you're confused on any of this, then you need to go back and review the last video, okay? All right, a landlord with a strict no pets policy wouldn't rent to a person that has a service animal that helps assist her. This would be discrimination based on disability. A fair housing specialist is reviewing for fair housing complaints. Which of these contain an action that is prohibited? An appraiser inflates the price because the person buying the property stole his girlfriend in high school. Oh my God. Is prohibited. Which of these contain? I think this one is. Okay, a transgender woman is evicted from a rental property because she makes the neighbors uncomfortable. A real estate professional doesn't respond to any request to view a property. Well, this is going to be a real estate agent without a job. A pregnant woman was not given the opportunity to rent a room in a 3-bedroom house because the owner doesn't want to live with a baby. I mean, I think a lot of these are prohibited. I have no idea because all of them look prohibited to me. I want to say this one with the transgender, but I don't know if that's right. So like I said on my last one, my goal is to have some of these types of classes live. That way you all can help me figure out the answers. But right now, I do not have enough subscribers for that kind of stuff. So when we get 10,000 and plus subscribers on this channel, maybe we can do that kind of thing. We can get at least 20 people live, and we can have like a little study group for those who need help on this. Which of these situations would be exempt from the most provisions of the Federal Fair Housing Act? Investor owns and rent would be exempt. This one might be the local club and rented only to its elk club. Okay, I think this one because it's a specific organization. This one might be, or this one. If this isn't right, it's that one. All right, let's see. Which decision stated that the separate facilities for black and whites were constitutional as long as they were equal? Oh my gosh, I have no idea. I always do bad on these types of questions. All right, time for some Google. Let's see if Google can give us the answer. Oh, it's Plessy and Ferguson. Okay. I am like so bad at memorizing these laws. But if I'm going to lose any points on the exam, it'll probably be on this. Because I know it's not this one. Discrimination based on race or color is not the Older Persons Act. But really, all of these are kind of similar. So it's very difficult to have this memorized. So if you have trouble like me in that area, you're just going to have to decide. You don't have to get a perfect score to pass the test. So if you're going to lose a couple points, you have to make a decision on what you want to lose it on. It's a civil rights. And when you're in the test, you're not going to be able to Google the answers. I mean, in reality, in real life, you can get help from other people. So that's why I have problems with some of these exams, but I understand why they're doing it. All right. When a protected class is discrimination between light or darker skin, I guess that would be color, right? Which type of property is exempt from Fair Housing Act? I think it would be with no more than 4 units. I'm guessing this one. I don't know. We can probably go back and Google this and see what it says. Property owners that live in a building contains 4 or fewer units. So I think that would be correct. Okay, which act created the Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity under HUD? I think it would be this one. Do we want to Google this? Just to make sure? Let's try it. Okay, Fair Housing Act. This says the Civil Rights. It says this one. All right, so we'll put that one. Which protected class is protected against discriminatory practice, such as placing limitations on the amount of children in the residence? I think it's familiar. Which Supreme Court decision consolidated 5 classes involving the constitutionally state-sponsored segregation in public schools? I have no idea why this is on a real estate exam, but it has to do with public schools. I don't understand it, but they keep bringing it up. All right, a landlord refuses to show a rent to a person who is not Christian or Jewish. This would be religious discrimination, I do believe. Why did the Civil Rights of 1866 fail to have an immediate impact on practice? There was probably no agency put in place, I'm guessing. Let's see if Google knows. Google, what would you do without Google? I don't know. There was no agency. Hey, look at that. I think I got that right. All right. Oh my God. Okay, so if you want to take any screenshots, that's thankful to Google, by the way. Google helped me since you guys are not able to do live videos yet. Google was my helper, my little parachute that came down here to help me. If you want to do any screenshots of these questions, these are great questions. A landlord with a strict no pets policy won't rent to a woman with a service animal is discrimination based on disability. A fair housing specialist is reviewing complaints. And remember, I wasn't sure about this one, but it's a transgender woman's evicted from rental property. I think all of these are kind of a little sketchy, except for maybe this one. This one here is just going to be out of a job. If you don't respond to any request to view a property, I don't know why you want to do real estate, because that's like a main part of your job. Which of these situations would be exempt from provisions of the federal housing? So if somebody owns a club and they only want to rent to L club members, that's not against the law. Which separates facilities for black and white were constitutional as long as they were equal. I have no idea what that means, as long as they were equal. But this is the case. It says here, they can separate facilities. I think this one overturned this one, and then they stopped the separate facilities. Which act was the first to prohibit any exemptions for discrimination based on race or color? Of course, that was our Civil Rights Act. And we had plenty of more acts that added on to that after that. Which protected class is involved in discrimination due to the color of your skin? What would be color? Is it lighter? Is it darker? Which type of property is exempt from fair housing? Owner-occupied with no more than 4 units. Which act created the Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity under HUD is the Federal Fair Housing Act of 1968. Which protected class is protected under discriminatory practices? And this has to do with discriminating against the number or the age of the children. So if somebody has a problem with children, this is the discrimination right here. Which U.S. Supreme Court consolidated 5 cases, the Brown versus Board of Education? So maybe that's why they want you to learn this in a real estate class, maybe because a lot of the discriminatory cases are all mixed up into one here. All right, a landlord refuses to rent an apartment to someone who is not Jewish or Christian. It would be religious discrimination. That was kind of an easy one. Why did the Civil Rights 1866 fail to have an impact? Because there was no agency in place. All right, I do believe we are still on federal fair housing laws, okay? This is what we're going to talk about. I don't think we're going to finish. We'll see how long these lessons are. I don't know how far we're going to get into this. All right. Newly licensed salesperson, which is going to be you in the future, by the way. They found out creative ways to advertise or drum up their business for marketing. And there are some laws on the marketing, and each state usually has to go with the federal laws here, because you don't want to get a discriminatory thing. You have to be really cautious with your marketing. All right. There are no resources for this inquiry, so take your best guess. All right. Nancy is new to the business, doesn't have a lot of referrals. She focuses her energy on advertising. She's overheard them complain about all African American people are moving in the area lately. What should she do? Well, either one is discriminatory because she has ulterior motives, but I guess this one would be the better one. Is this a test? Maybe it's a test. Okay, this results in a new listing. Feeling excited, Nancy gets to work. I guess she's trying to get people out so she can get some business. She knew African American families were attractive. What should she do? I think these two are. I think there's a name for that. I think it's called redlining or something, where you're just trying to get a specific type of people into a neighborhood. All right, her ads resulted in a handful of cards. I guess we got it right because it didn't tell me if it was right or wrong. Nancy is going to send over other listings to the broker to meet Mrs. Jones's needs. She says she's looking for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, a good yard. Which of the listings should she send? So I'm thinking, did she say she wants a yard? Well, what's going on here? All right, Mrs. Jones dislikes every property option Nancy sends, primarily because of the school district. It was completely lacking in diversity, and she would never send her kids to school like that. She's looking for a different agent to represent her, and eventually Nancy sells her listing to someone else, and everything goes well. Mr. and Mrs. Jackson refer to her all their friends. In the meantime, Nancy has left herself wide open for prosecution for fair housing laws if anyone chooses to report her. All right, Nancy's violations is she's talking to neighbors about selling their houses to minority groups, because this is considered blockbusting, by the way. They have names for all these things. And when this is the name of this as I was talking. Steering. When you're trying to get a certain type of person into a neighborhood, it's called steering. Advertising on only specific racial publications is a form of discrimination. Now, this would be hard to prove, by the way, because maybe she only has money to advertise in a specific thing. But in combination with all these other things she's doing, it definitely would build a case on her. By limiting Mrs. Jones to viewing properties in good school districts, Nancy is discriminating based on familiar status. What defines a good school district? This one gets people in trouble because of the law. Okay, if Mrs. Jones had no children, Nancy would have shown her different listings. Nancy is treating her different based on familiar status. Even though her intention may not be discriminatory, it could be align that way. The well-intended discrimination is the hardest for new licensees to spot in their behavior because we get set in our ways to do these things without even realizing that we're doing it. And it goes with anything in life. You might not intend to be discriminatory, disrespectful, or offend somebody, but you could be. So you can start doing that now, working on whether you think you're doing it or not. Okay, what is this here? Oh, it's a Quizlet. Okay, well, we can do that in a separate video. Flashcards. We'll do that in a separate video. Everybody loves flashcards. They're great for learning, and so they need to do the flashcards for all of those laws. I'm serious. That's what they need to do, flashcards. Maybe I'll make up my own video and do flashcards for that, because it is really hard to determine the difference on those different types of laws. And there needs to be some kind of way to memorize those, or, remember them, because I know personally I have a hard time with it. Okay, so redlining. Okay, I remember I was just talking about this. Redlining is utilizing a large map, crossing off the neighbors and neighborhoods and cities you consider risky. Now, risky could be crime, violence, could be certain racial types, demographics. So that you have to be careful of. Mortgages have a primary and secondary market, and lenders make loans in the primary market, but depend on the secondary market to buy these loans. So if the FHA would insure these loans, lenders couldn't sell them on the secondary market and couldn't offer mortgages on properties in redlined areas because it would put their businesses at risk. And this means that the property in redlined areas wouldn't sell easily. And I'm currently living in a redline area because we've had like 2 fires in this neighborhood and some violence. So it definitely makes the value of the neighborhood go down, unfortunately. Anything will just stall the equity in the home, the property value, when you have that kind of stuff happen. It's not necessarily going to go down right away, but it could. All right, when redlining was common practice, property owners in predominantly white neighborhoods would, if enough minorities moved in the area, find property values plummeting. Blockbustering. Because of potential redlining, Blockbustering became and we're not talking about the video game store that used to exist. Blockbustering became a profitable ploy for real estate agents. Agents approached owners as soon as a demographic shift started to occur and convinced them if they didn't sell, they would never be able to. Sometimes they outright lied and convinced people that their property values were declining because minorities were moving in. As whites fled from inner cities to suburbs and African Americans were prohibited from obtaining mortgages in those suburbs, cities became increasingly segregated because it was the only way to avoid losing property. Steering is knowing the demographic makeup of all the neighborhoods in the area and encouraging certain racial types to minority prevalent areas. All right. When working with an African American client, Nancy makes an effort to show them a home in primarily African American communities, and that would be an idea of steering, I do believe. All right. Nancy encourages residents to sell now, and I think that is redlining. And a lending company denies all loans for outside of the river because of demographics. That could be redlining, by the way. This could be blockbustering. And this might make. Let's try it. Okay, yeah, I got those two mixed up. So a lending company is the redlining. Okay. And this is blockbustering. Bless me. All right, here you go. This is a little confusing. We're going to do a separate video on the flashcards. I'll come back to this. And we'll have one video on the flashcards. So if you just enjoy watching videos with the flashcards that help you remember, then we will do that separately. So here you go. If you need any screenshots, this can get a little confusing to memorize the difference, but basically you just want to let people choose where they want to live. Okay, you don't need to be telling people where they need to go when they want a home. Consequences for violating it. Okay, let's look at this. All right, license suspension, lawsuits, damages, attorney fees, ridicule or threatening of violence. All right, let's check our answers. That's right. I didn't even need to read anything for that, but we're going to open it up anyway and look at it. So if you need a screenshot, there you go. So if you violate anything, this is what's going to happen. You might get a lawsuit, you might get damage, you might lose your license may get suspended for a while. A broker is probably not going to take you back in if you got any of this kind of crap when you're associated with you. It's just too risky for them because they could have to pay a fine. If you ever want any of my resources, be sure and contact me on my website in the Contact Us page. Be sure and put specifically what resource that you want because there's about 300 of them, okay? If you need to screenshot it, just screenshot it right now. I mean, it's pretty small. It may help you learn. You screenshot these things. You look at them when you're sitting in traffic, when you're standing in line, whatever you're doing. No, that's not correct. Okay, so who do we go to if we have a problem? No, law enforcement. Okay. All right, so let's say you're threatened by someone who's unhappy that you wouldn't violate the fair housing law. Go to law enforcement. Okay. We're going to do one more here. Maybe two, because we got 4 questions. I try not to make these videos too long, but we don't want to make them too short. All right, Nancy got charged with blockbustering and steering. And we knew that was coming because she kept writing all these crazy marketing things, right? All right, Nancy tried the following responses, but Thad said all were somewhat discriminatory except for one. Which one is not discriminatory? We have 2 little kids, so we want to make sure we're in a good neighborhood, somewhere safe. I would say this one. That's right. And you don't tell them, let them determine. You give them ideas and let them go and do their own research, because that way you will avoid discriminatory charges because they're making the decision. So this is a website that allows, that would help with that. Because it's not your job to take them anywhere. You just give them ideas and let them make their decision. They're the ones that are going to have to live in it. So if they make a poor decision, it'll be the consequence they have to deal with. All right, we lived here 10 years and love our neighbors. We're concerned about the changes happening. We want to careful about selling this house. As a consideration of friends we're leaving behind, can you help us find the right kind of buyer? I can't technically do that. I could only choose to advertise in certain target. Could choose to advertise in certain publications right here. I'll find you the most qualified buyer, and we can sell this house for the property. This would be the best answer for that. It would be illegal for me to limit the search based on race, religion, or anything like that. But I'll promise I'll find you the most qualified buyer. All right, this one. I know you technically can't show me just white neighborhoods, but I'm paying for your help. My time is valuable, and I don't want to waste it looking at neighborhoods I don't want to live in. if you can't screen properties for me that way, the way I want you to, I'll find someone else who can, and just say, that's fine. Go find somebody else because it's really not worth the risk of getting sued. New licensees are trying hard to build a referral base, and they have a hard time turning away clients because they're trying to get a referral base. But you really need to do it. Not all clients are good for your business, and don't be afraid to quit working with the wrong clients. Don't be afraid to tell them no if you need to tell them no. All right, this is 4 questions, so hopefully we'll pass it the first time because this video is getting kind of long. All right, which of the following is illegal for nudging buyers away from a specific area? Gerrymandering, you know that ain't right. So that's one we can definitely eliminate. How would you respond if a seller makes the following quote request? We've lived here 10 years, love our neighbors, we're concerned about the changes, and we want to be careful about who we sell this house to. You'll help us find the right kind of buyer, won't you? Which of these following is an example of blockbustering? Blockbustering has more to do with the mortgage companies, I do believe. Which discriminatory lending practice by lenders resulting in the destruction of a whole neighborhood? Oops, maybe this one's blockbustering. Okay, I don't know. Maybe we got that mixed up. All right, I don't know. Let's see how we did. Oh, of course we got it wrong. Okay, because we're running out of time. Okay, so this one is example of blockbustering is the agent shows a demographic shift occurs in her neighborhood and convinces her she needs to sell now or she'll never be able to sell. So that's an example of blockbustering. This one is redlining. It ends up destroying an entire neighborhood. Okay. So blockbustering is demographic shift. Okay. This one is redlining. All right. I thought blockbustering was the mortgage company, but it's not. Okay. So we'll try one more time. If we fail it, that's it. It's the end of the video. It's getting too long. I don't want to lose y'all. But it wouldn't make sense to start a whole new video with 4 questions. So we're going to try and get through this. Okay, this one is going to be familiar status, children. Anytime you see children. All right, early supported and compatible racial groups out of white suburbs. I don't know. I'm thinking it's steering. It could be blockbustering. All right, in 1938, it adopted the practice of crossing off cities it considered risky and withheld mortgage. I believe that was redlining, correct? To whom a licensee who has been threatened with violence, report the thing, report this violence to. You always go to your law enforcement officers with that. All right, so we passed this. We got one wrong. Let's look at the wrong one. Okay, so this was redlining. Okay, we had 2 redlining questions here. Okay. Support incompatible racial groups out of newly developed white suburbs is redlining. Okay. I'm going to end this video because it's getting kind of long. I don't really like my videos going on past 30 minutes. And if you want to do any screenshots, you need to hurry up or go back and watch a video. I'm going to do the flashcard video next. For those who like flashcards, it's just going to be a video with just the flashcards, and that's it. It's going to be pretty short. But some people learn great doing flashcards. Okay, thank you for sticking with me if you stuck with me. If you stuck with me, let me know below. I'm curious because I know these can be kind of boring.